Hey everybody, welcome to Always Bored, Never Boring. Today we're going to be taking a look at a Let's Play / playthrough for Bot War, which was kindly provided for review by Anthony Mallet of Traders Galaxy. Bot War is an 8 to 10mm skirmish miniatures game in which all your favourite characters from the 1980s, mainly great big warrior robots, are fighting it out on the tabletop. What I have here is the starter set, the second edition starter set, which I have already unboxed and taken a look at in a previous video. So if you haven't seen that, you might want to check that out first. Because what I'm going to do in this video is just throw together some small skirmish forces and run through the turns on the tabletop to show you the game in motion. The starter set includes forces for the Valiants and the Atlanticans, so the first thing we have to do is create our warbands. I don't know if I've ever mentioned this, but when I was growing up, one of my favourite comic book characters was Hound. Hound was a giant robot who had the ability to turn into a jeep. I don't really know why I bring that up, really. Let's build a Valiant force, shall we? First up, I'm going to pick Wolf. Wolf is a scout robot. Up here in the corner, we have a points value, and as with many games of this nature, you are going to build a force by tallying up the points and working to reach a total that you have agreed on with your opponent. A standard game is normally 80 points. The starter set gives you about 60 points worth of troops for each side. For this example, I'm going to throw together smaller warbands that add up to 29 points, just to keep things a little bit smaller and more manageable on camera. So I'm starting with Wolf here, who is a very cool character. He's my favourite character in the set. And then I'm also going to introduce Angel and Topstar. So these are my three characters. And they have their stats here, they have the damage bars here, they have special attacks here. You can see they all have the Ram attack, which is a one-use special ability. You can use that once in the game and then it's gone. And then they have certain abilities underneath in black text, which represent an always-on ability. The pink cube in the bottom right corner represents how much energy that particular unit will generate for you at the start of each round, because the way this game works is your force will generate energy and then you drop that energy onto the units to power them up to activate them for the turn. It's a very clever system, very straightforward, very easy to pick up. For my Atlantican force, I have picked Stingray, Moray, they look like twins, and Nami, one of my favourites because he's got a trident and a shield and he looks cool. So we have 3 units per side, both totaling 29 points. This game doesn't really have extra weapons and things that you can equip your units with to give them new skills and abilities, but there is a small section in the rules for companion upgrades, which I believe represent humans who are along for the ride, and they're in the rule book. They're not really introduced in any real sense. They're just there with a points value next to them. It looks like you just attach a companion to a particular robot and then add the relevant points. But we're not going to be doing that for this particular playthrough. I think that's mainly just to help you make use of those odd points. If you've got like 1 point left over or whatever, you can get a companion. The one thing I did notice is that in the rules book it says that it's possible to download cards for all of those companion upgrades, but when I took a quick look around the website, I couldn't immediately find them. I'm sure they're there somewhere, but I didn't find them at the time. Having built our warbands, it's now time to set up the battlefield. You can pick from one of 10 scenarios in the rules book, or you can just have a bit of a scuffle. The game is designed to play on a 3x3 board with a certain amount of terrain on the battlefield. For this particular example, because you don't get a battle mat or any terrain in the starter set. I thought I would try and keep it as minimal as possible. So all I've done here is I've thrown down a kill team board, which is actually much smaller than the normal 3x3 size, but as I'm using the cut down 29-point warbands, I thought that would be more fitting. And then for terrain, I've just chucked down 2 boxes, which are actually the inserts from Warhammer 40,000 boxes, which are designed to get people started on tabletop war games when they don't have terrain. I thought that would be a good way of sort of reflecting someone new to hobby gaming and not having a lot of stuff to chuck down on the table, because of course when you're building a battlefield for a tabletop game, you can use anything really. You can use books and old toilet rolls, whatever, if you don't have any decent terrain to get going. When it comes to terrain, the rules in the 2nd edition rulebook for Bot War are quite brief. They're less than a page long, and they effectively cover 2 things that terrain can do. One is they can block line of sight, and that is especially important in this game because range is unlimited for long range shots. The second thing that terrain can be is impassable. It can block your movement. Certain abilities can allow you to pass over impassable terrain, but generally speaking, if it's impassable, you cannot go over it. And that's fine, and it's obviously streamlined on purpose to keep things simple, but I personally would have liked just a little bit more. For example, I do think the rules should cover something like climbing terrain. For example, if you've got these buildings that I have in front of me here, I think it should cover being able to climb on top of them. So for this playthrough, I'm just going to be measuring the distance up from the base if anybody wants to climb onto the top of these. Also, I think the rules regarding impassable terrain could potentially cause some confusion, because in the rules book there are pictures of robots standing on top of high-rise tower blocks. So when you're setting up your battlefield, you have to say that a high-rise tower block is impassable because you couldn't go through it and there's no rules for climbing up it. There are abilities that allow you to fly over impassable terrain. However, the rules do specifically state that you cannot land on top of impassable terrain, even if you have an ability that would allow you to pass it. So I think there's a little bit of scope there for people to introduce their own little rules and extra ways of handling the types of terrain they have. For example, like I say, I am going to allow my robots to climb up onto the top of these structures that I have here, as well as being able to fly over them. They are not classed as impassable, but they do need to be climbed up. With the battlefield set up and the warbands selected, the last thing we really need to do before we get going is to determine the activation order for the units, because in this game each unit has a strategy rating and units will activate in strategy rating order, in ascending order from lowest to highest. You have the low strategy ratings, which perhaps represent the bots that are more impetuous and more eager to run into battle without necessarily thinking things through. And then you have the high strategy rating characters who take a more of a back seat. They study the landscape. They activate later in the round once they have seen what the opposition are doing. And then of course anybody with a mid-range strategy rating is somewhere in between those two extremes. And that's quite an interesting concept, which I like, because it means you're not playing a game where one player will move all of their units and then the other player will move all of their units, but also it's not a strict I go, you go, where you're doing alternating activations. And it gives you something to think about when you're picking your units. Do you go for units with low strategy ratings, which means you're going to get to activate sooner in the round, or do you go for those units that have one of the higher range strategy ratings so that you can activate later in the turn after you've seen what your opponent is up to? So here I have lined up the unit cards for both forces, and as it turns out, I have ended up with alternating activations. The Valiants will go first, and then it will be one of the Atlanticans, and then back and forth we go. If I have one minor complaint about this strategy rating system, it's that if you have two units that have the same strategy rating, Valiants will take priority. Now, I don't know if that's built into their points structure in some way. I think designing a miniatures tabletop game, one of the bits of black magic, one of the things that I think would be a stumbling block for many people is allocating points to units. How do you get a robust system that ensures whatever points you allocate to a unit, it's a fair distribution? So perhaps the points of the Valiants reflects that they get that slight edge there. But the interesting thing is, if you're not playing with Valiants, if you have two of the other factions facing off against each other, you actually roll a dice at the start of the game, or you find some other random way to determine who will break ties, and then that tiebreaker is in place for the rest of the game. Again, a nice streamlined way to keep things simple, but I was wondering if there was perhaps a way that they could actually incorporate the strategy ratings into a system for determining who will go first in the tiebreak situations. I was thinking perhaps you could add all of the strategy ratings of your individual units to get a grand total, and you would compare that against your opponent, and whoever had the highest total would get the tie break. I thought this might be interesting because if you take a lot of units that have a high strategy rating and you add those together, you get a big strategy number, and that reflects the overall cohesiveness of a team that is thoughtful, methodical, and has a particular approach to the battle where they will study the enemy and then they will use that to their advantage. So if you have the highest total strategy rating, then when you get into those tiebreak situations, you would be able to lean into that forward planning, that bigger pool of strategy and knowledge to outmaneuver your opponent and break the tiebreak situation. But I don't know. I mean, that's just off the top of my head and still isn't going to resolve situations like this, where we have 2 strategy rating 4s, 2 5s and 2 7s, so the 2 forces actually have identical strategy ratings in total. And besides, I am on the outside looking in, and there may very well be a very good reason why the strategy rating works the way it does. Nevertheless, we are ready to deploy our troops. The scenario will tell you the order in which you will deploy your units. Usually it is in ascending strategy rating order. So that's what we're going to do here, because we're not playing to any particular scenario, we're just having a bit of a bundle to figure out how these rules work. First of all, we have the Valiant top star. Next is the Atlanticans Stingray. Next should be Wolf, but Wolf has the Scout special ability, which allows him to ignore the usual deployment rules, and he will deploy last anywhere on the board as long as he is out of line of sight and at least 11 inches away from any enemy model. Next up is Moray, then Angel. The final Atlantican is Nami. And here is Wolf. Wolf is going to be deployed out of line of sight. You can't see him, he's hiding. He's just over there. At the start of each turn, you have a bookkeeping step where you will advance the turn counter and work out any victory points that people have scored. We're going to play through a 3-turn battle just to see how we go. So I'm going to use this green dice. I'm going to set it to 1 because this is the first turn. And of course, there are no victory points at the moment. We're just going to see what we can kill. The next step is the power-up phase, where your forces will generate their total pool of energy. So you look at all the units you have at your disposal, and you add up the total cubes. The way it stands here, my Valiants will have 5 cubes, and my Atlanticans will have 6. You then have to distribute those tokens to your units, thinking about how you're going to use those cubes to activate for the turn. In general terms, a unit can move for 1 energy, can shoot for 1 energy, can attack in close combat for 1 energy, can activate their super ability once per game for 2 energy, and can also use 1 energy to boost certain things like attacking or defending. And each model will get 2 actions per activation. So if you give a unit 2 cubes, they could move and then shoot, or shoot twice, or shoot once but boost the shot and then not be able to do anything with their second action, and so on. My Valiants are going to put 1 cube onto Top Star. He's only going to get 1 cube because he is efficient, and models who are efficient get to perform 1 of their actions for free. I'm then going to put 1 on Wolf, actually 2 on Wolf, and then we'll put 2 on Angel. As it turns out, I've placed the amount of cubes as represented in the bottom corner of the cards, but you can actually give them more cubes than that. That is not a top limit. For the Atlanticans, we're going to put 3 on Stingray, and we're going to put 3 on Moray, and Nami's going to stay exactly where he is at the moment, hidden out the way. With that done, we're now ready to begin our activations. So as you can see, we've locked in how much power each unit has available, which has to a certain degree signaled to our opponent what we're intending to do, but at the same time, they don't know exactly. They know what skills the units have available, there's no hidden information there, but they don't know exactly what we've got planned or what we're thinking. Topstar wants to climb the building and get in front of Angel. The reason being, Topstar is lucky and obscure, and those are both rules that make it harder for him to be shot. So if he can get in front of Angel, an obscure line of sight to her, he is going to hopefully be able to absorb any damage that's incoming from ranged fire. His movement is 7. That was his free action from being efficient. For his second action, we're going to see if we can take a pot shot at one of these exposed Atlanticans. And we're going to shoot at Stingray, because we know that Stingray is going to be the next to activate. And what we can hope to do is fire some shots at him and hopefully get him to spend some of his energy boosting his defense rolls. Line of sight is incredibly simple in this game. Basically, it's true line of sight, so you get behind the model at head height. If you can see your target, you can shoot at it. If at least 50% of the target is covered either by other miniatures or terrain pieces, then the target will get an extra dice in defense, and it will be one of the special black critical dice. But otherwise, if you can see it, you can shoot it. And there are 2 ranges in the game. There is short range, which is up to 10 inches, and then there is long range, which is anything beyond that. There is no mention in the rules of there being an upper range limit on long range, so it is taken to be an unlimited range. And this is one of those things that the rulebook is very streamlined. It's very minimal in how it translates the rules of the game for you. And I think you have to work on the basis that if it doesn't say it, it isn't in the game. But I think that's the sort of thing that potentially hardened gamers, it might trip them up a little bit. I think sometimes people who are newer to gaming will take things at face value and just go with it. But people who have played a lot of different tabletop games, they bring baggage to the table. I bring an excessive amount of baggage to the table when I'm playing a game. I'm looking for that, oh, so what's the upper limit on range? It doesn't say there's an upper limit on range, so I have to assume there isn't one, but then I've got that nagging thought, have I missed something? And then I'm going back through the rules, seeing if I've missed a rule or something. Sometimes just an extra little line to explain the obvious can help people who might be bringing baggage from other games with them. And that also applies to this game for measuring. There is no mention in the rules of whether you're allowed to measure distance before you shoot. In some games, of course, measuring isn't allowed, you have to figure things out, but normally you can measure first. And again, because there's no mention of not being allowed to measure, you have to assume here that you are allowed to measure. But again, because I've got all those different game systems in my head, it's something that, because it isn't explicitly stated, my brain wants to try and fill in gaps when it doesn't need to. But that little tangent aside, let's see if Topstar can shoot Stingray. First, we check our range. As you can see, we are outside of the 10-inch range, so this will be a long-range shot. If you're shooting at short range, you are allowed to spend energy to boost your shot, in which case you spend 1 energy and you get 1 extra dice to attack. However, at long range, you are not allowed to boost your shot. Furthermore, you have to roll 1 less dice than normal, so there is a big penalty for shooting at long range. You do want to try and get in close where possible. Topstar normally rolls 3 dice in range. We can see that here on his card. It has an RA value of 3. So I'm going to be rolling 2 purple dice. Looking at Stingray's character sheet, we can see that he has a shield rating of 3. That means we will be rolling 2 purple attack dice for Top Star and 3 red shield dice for Stingray. Before we roll, Stingray has the opportunity to boost his shield value. He has energy available, he can spend 1 energy to roll an additional shield, but he doesn't want to do that. And now it's just a good old-fashioned dice off. We can see that Top Star had a good roll. He rolled 5 attacks. However, Stingray's defense was also very good. He rolled 4 shields. You take off the number of shields from the number of hits. That leaves 1 hit. So 1 hit gets through on Stingray. Stingray's health is 6, so it will go down to 5. The game doesn't actually come with any tokens for tracking health, but there is a sheet of tokens in the back of the rules book that you can photocopy. However, what I'm probably going to do with these guys, I'm going to put these cards in sleeves, and then I'm going to mark the health points on the sleeves with a pen and then wipe it off at the end of the game. I think that's going to be a good way to keep track of it. For now, I'm just making a note off camera. And that completes Top Star's activations. Next up, it is Stingray's turn to activate, and Stingray has a sneaky plan. He wants to use his super ability straight away. His super ability is air support. You can move 3 times as far over terrain and other models. And it's slightly unusual wording, but I think what it basically means is you triple your movement distance and you can ignore terrain and you can move over models which you wouldn't normally be allowed to move through. However, after you've made that move, you are only allowed to attack with ranged attacks for the rest of the round, because effectively, Stingray's turning into a plane. He's turning into a plane, he's flying across the battlefield, and then he's launching his missiles at the enemy. It's pretty neat in a thematic sense. We spend our 2 energy tokens, and it should be pointed out you can only use your super ability once per game. So this is going to be another good reason to sleeve the cards, because you can just draw a line through your ability to say you've used it. Our movement is normally 8, so we will have a total of 24 inches of movement. More than enough for what we want to do. And of course we have a nice unobscured shot at Angel. Stingray actually has the blast ability, which is very cool. When he makes an attack, all models within 2 inches of the target will take a damage. Unfortunately, Top Star is too far away for that to be effective. But still, let's see if we can lay some damage down on Angel. We spend our power cube. Stingray's ranged attack is 3. Unfortunately, he has no energy left to boost it. Maybe we should have given him an extra cube just so we could really do some damage. Angel has a shield rating of 3. I could boost it, but I'm pretty confident she can survive the attack, and then we're going to have a couple of actions left maybe to retaliate. We can see there's 4 damage on the purple dice, but there is also 4 shields on the red dice, so Angel survives the mass missile bombardment. Stingray's fiendish plan did not come to fruition. Next up, it is Sneaky Wolf's turn to activate. He's only going to use 1 action, and the action he is going to use is Disorientate. He can use this instead of a ranged attack, and what he does is he sends out a disorientating pulse, and any units within 10 inches of him will have 1 less red shield for the rest of the turn. We are positioned in such a way that Stingray will be affected by that ability, but my allies will not be. So that's going to cost me 1 energy, and I'm going to keep the other energy in case I get attacked. Moray is obviously not best pleased about Wolf's sneaky tactic, and he wants to rectify that. So he's also going to activate his air support ability, so he can fly to the top edge of the board and take a shot at Wolf. We're going to spend 2 cubes to fly to the top of the board, and then we will use our 3rd cube to do a ranged attack using 3 dice against Wolf's shield of 3. And Wolf, of course, will use his final energy cube to boost his shield rating to 4. And despite that boost, quite a few hits have got through there. In fact, Moray has inflicted 4 wounds on Wolf, taking him down to just 2 wounds left. But now Angel springs into action. She has 2 energy cubes, which means she could take 2 shoot actions against Stingray. She also has the sharpshooter ability, which allows her to reroll 1 ranged attack dice per turn. So for one of her attacks, she would get a reroll. The question is, do we make 1 ranged attack boosted with the other Energon cube, so we would be rolling 4 dice against Stingray's 2 shield with a reroll, or do we take 2 shoot actions of 3 each time against the shield of 2? Who's good at statistics? Oh, let's do it the fun way. Let's just do a supercharged attack, which means we will roll our 3 standard purple dice, an extra purple dice, and get a reroll against Stingray's shield of just 2. Okay, we can see that at the moment 4 hits have got through, which isn't enough to destroy Stingray. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to re-roll one of the ones. There is a chance it may come up a blank, but there's also a chance it could come up a 3. And if it comes up a 3, we have actually killed Stingray. So it's worth the gamble. It's a 2, so it was worth doing. But unfortunately not enough to kill him. We've inflicted 5 wounds, and then of course I turn to my sheet of paper to mark down that damage, and remember that Topstar actually inflicted a wound on Stingray earlier in the round. So he'd inflicted 1 wound, we've just inflicted an additional 5, which is a total of 6, which does actually kill Stingray. And that is a big, big problem for the Atlanticans, because the removal of Stingray means they are 1 bot down, and that also means they're going to be generating 2 less energy each round. And with Nami having no energy to do anything, that is the end of the round. We advance the turn tracker. We are on turn 2 of 3. And it's time to allocate our energy cubes again. Following true line of sight rules, my units up on the top here don't have good line of sight to the targets. Angel can't actually see anybody, and Topstar only has obscured vision on both of them. So we need to get those guys down, because Wolf over at the back is about to get outgunned and outmatched. However, I do want Wolf to do his special ram attack. When you activate ram attack, you turn into vehicle mode. It adds 3 inches to your maximum movement range, and if you finish your move in base contact with an enemy and have a second activation, you can use that activation to attack in close combat, and you will get a bonus black dice. And the black dice are more powerful than the purple dice. When you charge into combat, you get a black dice anyway. So when you do a ram attack, you're rolling 2 black dice, which is a really big boost and can cause a lot of damage. And he would get to do that before Moray could respond, because he has the advantage on the strategy rating. So I definitely want to do that. I'm going to put 1 cube on Topstar, because he is efficient and gets an action for free. 3 on Wolf, because he will need 2. And we'll place 1 on Angel, just because I don't want to leave her completely out of the scuffle and where she can't do any good. For the Atlanticans, of course, Stingray is dead. As the Atlantican player, I have to be concerned that Moray may not survive the attack from Wolf. However, I do know that Wolf is badly damaged. Moray is at full health at the moment, which means he could survive the attack. But other people, like Topstar, are probably going to take a shot at him as well. So I think we're probably better off boosting up Nami. Let's put 1 on Moray. And the remaining 3 on Nami. And off we go. We start with Topstar. He's going to make a free move action to get down off the building. And then for his remaining action, he's going to take a shot at Moray. Our ranged attack is 3. Moray's shields are 3. He's concerned about what Wolf is going to do, so he is going to spend his energy to boost his defense against this shot. Or does he wait? Does he wait until Wolf attacks him? He's going to wait. He's just going to take this one on the chin. Which was a good call, because he actually blocked all of the damage. It was 3 for 3. Next up, Wolf is going to activate, and he's going to start by activating his ram attack. And for some reason, I don't know why, I feel like I want to shout roll out at this point, but I won't. His normal move is 7, so he will charge into combat 10 inches. I know that's far enough. And then I will spend his remaining cube to do a close combat attack. For this attack, I am rolling 2 purple and 2 black dice. Moray is going to boost his shields to roll 4 red shield dice. Okay, what have we got here? We've got 4 red shields against 9 attacks. 4 minus 9 is 5. It was a good call for Moray to boost that attack because it has enabled him to survive. He has 1 hit point remaining. Hey everybody, it's future me. I'm just stopping in because at this point in proceedings I forgot a very important rule. When you attack someone in close combat, if you actually manage to damage them but do not destroy them, you have the opportunity to disengage. This allows you to move up to 1 inch away from the enemy that you're fighting. It isn't always beneficial to disengage, however often it is, because it enables you to escape from a close combat, so if your target wants to retaliate, they will have to spend a power cube to move adjacent to you again. It can move you back out of harm's way, so perhaps out of range of other attacks. It makes it harder for the enemy to gang up on you. And also it is not possible to shoot at a model that is engaged in close combat. By disengaging and moving away, you may have an opportunity to shoot the target that you failed to kill in close combat. If I had remembered this rule, the rest of this playthrough may have turned out slightly differently, so it's something to keep in mind. Back to the action. Unfortunately, Moray cannot retaliate, so we go straight to Angel. Angel is just going to make a move action. Her move is 7. She's now better positioned to take some shots at the enemies. But now Nami is going to activate, and Nami has seen Wolf's little trick with ram attack, and he is also able to do a ram attack, so he is going to spend 2 energy to make a ram attack. He moves 10 inches towards Wolf. And Wolf is about to have a bad time because he is now outnumbered by an enemy that has also done a ram attack on him. Here's what happens. Nami will get 2 dice as standard for his close attack. He will then add an additional purple dice because Moray is assisting him. And then he will roll his 2 black dice, 1 for charging and 1 for ram attack. So he is rolling 3 purple and 2 black against Wolf's 3 red shields. It's a valiant defense from Wolf. He actually blocks all of the damage from the purple dice, but unfortunately those 2 black dice are the killer. 4 wounds get through. Stacked on top of the 4 wounds he took from that blistering barrage from Moray earlier on means he has taken 8 damage and is destroyed. I'm not crying, you're crying. That ends the round. We go into our 3rd and final round with everything to play for. Turn 3. The Valiants only get 3 cubes. So how are we going to do this? Top Star needs 2 because he is going to do his ram attack. He will do his ram attack and then he will use his free action to actually attack. Because I'm pretty sure you can't use Efficient to actually use your ram attack skill for free. And I guess that leaves Angel with 1 dice which she'll have to use to do a sharpshooter attack and hope for the best. For the Atlanticans, both Moray and Nami have used their big special abilities. So what are they going to do? I think Moray's got 1 wound left. So I think he just wants to run away. We'll give him 2 and we'll give Nami 2. We'll split it evenly. So Top Star is first, and he's going to use his 2 energy cubes to ram attack. He's going to plow into Nami and hope we can inflict enough damage to take Nami out. Nami only has 4 wounds. He's a little bit weaker than some of the other bots that we've been fighting, so fingers crossed on this one. We move into base contact. Our close attack value is only 1 purple dice, but we are rolling 2 black dice as well. Nami gets 3 shield in defense. He's going to spend an energy to boost that shield to 4. And we have 4 hits get through, but 5 shields blocks all of the damage. And that has left Top Star a bit of a sitting duck. Moray was going to retreat because he's badly wounded, but he has a chance to kill Top Star here. And I think that's what he's going to do. If we move in there, we have 2 units in base contact with Top Star. So Moray has spent 1 energy cube to move, and he will spend 1 energy cube to attack. His normal attack is 2 purple dice, but he gets an additional black dice for charging and a purple dice for the assistance of Nami. Top Star's shield is only 2. And as if that wasn't enough, Top Star is also obscure and Moray is a bully. What that means is when Moray attacks anybody with the obscure special skill, he can re-roll 1 of his combat dice. And it's important to note that the rules do specify it has to be a close attack dice, which are the purple dice, not one of the black critical dice. Oh my gosh, that is a total of 10 damage and only 2 shields in defense. A massive 8 damage gets through on Top Star, enough to kill him twice. Top Star goes down and Angel is left to stand alone. Angel has only one thing she can do. She can shoot. Unfortunately, her best target, her best chance of killing someone is to shoot Moray, who only has 1 wound left. But Moray is more than 50% obscured following true line of sight rules, which means he will get an extra black critical dice when he is shielding. Alternatively, I could shoot Nami. Nami is not obscured, but Nami has an energy cube left to use to shield, which would boost his shield to 4. I'm going to go for it. I'm going to try and kill Moray. I spend my energy cube. Moray gets 3 shield and a black dice in defense. And what have we got here? We got 5 hits through, but unfortunately Moray blocked 6. I do get a reroll. I can reroll 1 of my dice. I have to reroll this dice. And if it comes up a 3, then I will kill Moray. Oh my gosh, that is a 3. That inflicts 7 wounds on Moray's defense of 6. 1 wound gets through. Against all the odds, Angel threads the eye of the needle and blows a hole in the top of his carapace. Moray goes down in an explosion of sparks and fizzing metal. All that's left to do is for Nami to activate. Nami doesn't have anything really much he can do. He is going to just move into cover. And that is it. It is all over. 4 bots lie in ruin on the battlefield. How are we going to figure out which team won? The obvious way is to add up the points values of the units destroyed, and whoever had the most points in kills will win. If we look at all of our cards, Stingray was 10 and Moray was 9 for a total of 19. Wolf was 12 and Top Star was 8 for a total of 20. So the Atlanticans killed 20 points worth of Valiants, which means they have won the day, squeaking through with a victory of 1 point. And that is Bot War. I know this was just a small scale rumble. This was just trimmed down for the camera so I could do it all in one static shot and show you what was going on and give you a bit of everything that the game has to offer. But even just this really small sample was just fun. Determining how much energy to give to each of your units, deciding whether to boost your attack or your defense, deciding whether to use your big ability and ram the enemy, put yourself in potential risk but get the benefits if things go your way. Good decision points without lots of heavy rules. The dice pool system is really clean and straightforward. You're rolling purple dice against red dice. Sometimes you can add extra purple dice, sometimes you can add extra red dice. Certain situations you get those super powerful black critical dice, and those critical dice are terrifying, as they should be. There are skulls all over that thing, and generally when you're rolling those, your target is in trouble, and it feels fast, it feels dangerous, it feels energetic, it feels like things are moving all the time. I do feel in this particular example game I was a little bit starved of energy, but that's because of the units I picked. There are some units that will generate 3 energy, there may even be some that generate 4, but in the starter set there are several characters that generate 3 energy, and those are big units. Those are important to have because you always need more energy than you have. There's always tense decisions on where should I put those energy, where am I going to get the most benefit. I think I do have a slight concern that the game can get into a rich get richer situation, because as you lose units, you lose the energy that those units provided. But there are certain scenarios where there are energy cubes on the board, and if you're in control of those energy cubes, then you will generate more energy each turn. There are certain special skills that allow you to redeploy your energy. There are ways around it, and I think it's one of those things that the more units you have, the more you get into army building, the more ways you have to mitigate those situations. But out of the box, out of the starter set, I think there is a potential risk that once you start to lose, things are going to escalate for you, things are going to get worse. Although having said that, in this particular example, the Atlanticans were on the back foot early on, but they came back and actually managed to win, so maybe that's just a theoretical concern that won't actually manifest itself in regular gameplay. Overall, I think this is an exciting game. There are certain areas of the rules where I think I would like to see a little bit more detail, mainly with the terrain. There's nothing about elevation. I think it's quite common in games for if you have the high ground, then you do gain some benefit when you're shooting. Although maybe that's not necessary with this game. This game, it plays fast and quick and a little bit loose, and it does have that easygoing Saturday morning cartoon vibe to it. I don't know really how to explain it. Everything's a little bit, it's tense and fast moving and exciting, but it's all just fun and light. And I love it. I think it's great. There are certainly a few areas of the rules that I'm mildly concerned about. There's something about that tie-break situation with the strategy rating and Valiants getting the tie-breaks. It actually came into play in this particular game where, because Wolf was a Valiant, he had the drop on Moray, and that could have actually been worse for Moray than it was. And that was just a benefit of him being a Valiant. And if he had been perhaps from the same faction as Moray, if it had been 2 factions of Atlanticans fighting each other, and that had been determined by a dice roll, it seems a little bit like there should be something else there to determine that tie-break. But other than that, I love the activation order system. I love the way it's based on the strategy rating. I love the way that the energy is generated and divvied out, and it determines what you can do, and you have to think, really think, is that unit going to be on the board by the time I get to activate it, or is it going to be destroyed? I had to really face that problem in the 3rd turn of this example game, when Moray had 1 hit point left. I could have put a lot of energy on him so he could have done something cool, but what if he had died? What if somebody had taken him out before he had a chance to do anything? And that's the kind of thing I love. Those are the kind of decisions that mean a lot to me in a gaming experience. You have to think tactically, strategically. You have to gauge what your opponent's thinking. You have to look where they're putting their cubes. You have to try and figure out, why is he giving an extra cube to that unit? Is it just so he's got a boost for his defense if I attack him? Or is he planning on doing his big special move? What do I do? How do I counter that? Do I need to counter it? Is it a bluff? There's so much stuff going on there, and it's not stuff that's coming from the rules, it's stuff that's coming from the players that the rules have allowed. The rules have facilitated a situation where you can focus on your gameplay, focus on your strategies, focus on what you want to do and how you want to achieve it. I'm impressed. Yes, I have a few minor misgivings, but overall, I'm really enjoying this game. But I guess that's all I've got to say for now. Once again, I have to thank Anthony Mallet of Traders Galaxy for providing this game for review. To the best of my knowledge, this game isn't really widely available. It's available in Australia. I'm only aware of one place in the UK where you can get it, and that's Firestorm Games. Hopefully there will be some other avenues to get it. As for America, I have no idea, I'm afraid. But I certainly think this is something worth looking into. You're not going to get a really deep, crunchy game. You're getting something a little bit loose, a little bit light, something fun, something a little more entry level, something with quite a wide open rule set that makes it quite easy to add in simple rules, simple house rules, create your own scenarios. It's very, very loose and open, and I think something that's going to lend itself well to narrative games and creating your own little campaigns. In that regard, it's probably more along the lines of Burrows and Badgers, which is another game that focuses more on just being fun and creative and allowing you to make stories. If you're a really hardened gamer looking for a really tight rule set that's going to give you every answer to every question you have, this isn't it. But this is very much my sort of thing. And that's it from me for now. Thank you so much for watching. If you have enjoyed the video, please consider pressing the like button. If you have really enjoyed the video, please consider subscribing if you don't already do so. And hopefully, I'll see you all again very soon. Bye bye everyone. Bye bye.